So why am I showing you a couple little white things on the top of a house? Hang in there, we're gonna do something cool. All right, so why am I showing you a couple little white things on the top of a house? Well, the reason I'm showing you those is because that's my only form of internet right now. I'm too far away from the road. My driveway is about 850 feet or so. So the cable company won't run anything to my house without it being a massive endeavor. So I've, for the last, well, not quite a year, but I've used this, basically it's a hotspot kind of a unit with those two antennas pointing out at the tower in the distance, and it doesn't work real well. It's been okay for sometimes, but it's up and down. It's 2 to 7 meg per second, which is not very good. So anyway, I need to come up with a new solution, and I'm going to start working on that today, and I'll show you more about that shortly. But I wanted to get you started by seeing what I currently have for internet. And by the way, it costs about $100 a month for this solution, and I'm going to try to move to something that's about $40 a month and gives me hopefully 100 meg or more, much more useful internet. So stick with me, and there's a lot to it, but I'll try to edit this all down so it doesn't take so long. But hang in there, we're gonna do something cool. All right, so what I'm doing here is taking all the knots off of it, the little spots where the limbs were sticking out before, because I'm going to use a tool to start scraping all the bark off, and then I'll end up treating it. Alright, so I had originally set out to use a much bigger post. It was oak and it was far too heavy to work with, so I switched over to this one. Was also 13 feet, and it's cedar, which means if you've ever dealt with cedar trees, they're pretty durable. They last forever, and if you have, I have a lot of cedars with dead limbs all over them that have probably been dead for 10 or 15 years or more. And I can't break those limbs off. I have to use a chainsaw to cut them off. So cedar will last as long as I'm going to want this rig that I'm building to last. So I just thought I'd let you know why it doesn't look that big, but it's very strong in terms of weathering. And I'm peeling all the bark off of it so that I can then take a flamethrower to it and seal it. And that way bugs won't get into it. Of course, the bark, they love to live in the bugs love to live in the bark. So that's part of the reason I'm getting rid of that. And of course, burning it, it's, ancient Japanese solution. You see lots of people do that now. It's a great way to do it. And so anyway, I'll do that next after I finish peeling this guy off. All right, I think that's good enough. The rest is going to get burned off. So let's get to the next step, the fun part. We'll get out the flamethrower. Hey, good morning. So Saturday morning, it's about 48 degrees this morning. Beautiful. It's going to warm up. It's going to be probably 80. Sun's coming up. Birds are chirping. I'm excited. So I'm going to get to work right now while it's still a little bit cool because it's going to get warm. Digging my post hole for my high-speed internet project. So anyway, you get to see me dig a hole and put some cement and a pole in it, and we'll get started. And obviously I'll keep tracking my process and progress as I build out the electronics box and the micro nano beam dishes, and keep you updated on what's going on with that. So glad you could join me this morning, and good to see you. Alright, that's 2.5 feet right there. I think we're gonna call that done. One other thing I had to do is call this utility and have them come. I don't know if you can see the red stripe coming from the pole, but I had to have them mark the ground here. And I'm required to be 2 feet at least from the line, and I'm right about at just about 3 feet. Woo! Finally. This darn thing. 8 feet. I had the wrong tool. Definitely didn't have the right tool to do it, but determination overcame. It goes 8 feet down into the ground now. So hopefully that gives me a nice ground for lightning and for electrical ground. So it's too much. All right, so I didn't really film it all, but I ended up hooking my grounding wire on. And got a little point here. I'm going to put my electrical box on. Then I open the top. You can't see it very well. That's my little lightning rod for now. But hopefully I can find an actual proper rod that will attach to the top, and I'll hook that. This is six gauge copper wire. So anyway, just thought I'd show you where I am at this point, and now I got to start working on the box itself and build it out. All right, so here's what you're looking at. You are looking at a bunch of parts and pieces that are going to come together to make up my my high-speed internet access from a far remote distance from the road. Starting over here is the heart of it all. This is the modem, which of course is just a basic modem, but it allows cable in, Ethernet out. Ethernet out will go through a PoE, which is Power over Ethernet injector, to run 24 volts into a nano beam. These nano beams are basically little microwave dishes. Same idea, point to point, line of sight, super high speed, 5 gigabit throughput on those. The nice thing about this modem also is that it happens to be 12 volt. That's important because I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to get electricity to the box up by the road. I have to be within under 100 feet from the road to get the internet cable to the modem. And to power the nano beam and to power everything else that needs to be in the box, which includes the modem, but also will include fans for when it gets too hot, little heaters when it gets too cold. Again, they all have to be 12 volt. And this little guy who runs on 12 volt is responsible. He's got a little temperature sensor on it, which will go on the modem. Heaters will go on the modem. The fans will go on, one on the bottom of the box, one on the top, on the inside, one pulling air in, one pushing out, so we can get very efficient air movement through the box to keep it cool. Then let's see, what else do we have? Batteries. So if we do solar, we just need a solar panel. Is the only thing I don't have at this moment, but I've got the unit that regulates the charging, as well as when the solar panels are pulling energy, it will reroute power, some to the batteries to charge, some to the devices that are needed in the box. The batteries are 12 volt each, but they will be set up in parallel and series to give me a bank of 24 volt. The reason I need 24 volt is because the nano beams run on 24 volts. So if I don't have 120 AC power coming in and I'm only running solar, or if I'm using the batteries as battery backup and the electricity goes out, then I need the ability to run those at 24 volts. So how do I run all my 12 volt stuff that's in the same box? That's what this guy does. He steps down very efficiently from 24 volts to 12. So I can have both 24 volt devices running and all the 12 volt devices running as well off the same battery structure. If I'm not using just solar and I am bringing in 120 AC from the road, that's what this guy will do. He takes 120 and drops it down to 12. So while he's handling all the 12 volt devices, the PoE injector can be plugged into 120 as well, and that'll handle the 24 volt device. So that's basically it. Those are all the pieces. They're going to go in there. I'll show you how I build some of this, and I'll cut holes and do all the things, build a rack here to mount all this stuff to. But I wanted you to see all the parts first and pieces that we start out with before we build this device. So hang in there, and we'll show you how it all goes together.